Rimworld is addicting. Just look at how many hours I've sunk into it. That's 22 days right there, which is both impressive and a little sad. Released in 2016 by Ledian Studios, Rimworld is a colony management simulator in space, where you control survivors of an unspecified spacecraft accident who crash land on a planet on the fringes of explored space. Much like survivors on a deserted island, you try to pool their different skills together in order to survive, build a self-sufficient colony, and eventually gather the resources to build a ship to escape. Except the planet isn't deserted. In fact, a whole ecosystem of things lives here. Angry natives, space cowboys, killer robots, and giant insects are all eager to kill your survivors. It's a little bit like Civilization, where you want to play just one more turn. That's this game. You want to see where it's going, what's going to happen the next day. It could possibly be just a normal pirate raid, or hundreds of man-eating animals wandering into the area. Rimworld is a bit reminiscent of games like Dwarf Fortress. You don't directly control the colonists. Instead, you add tasks, or as the game calls, bills, to things like workbenches and stoves, or marking out zones for your colonists to haul resources to or sow seeds in. The colonists then automatically carry out said tasks if their skills and work agenda allow for it. The speed, and sometimes the quality, of the work is affected by the skill and health of the colonist. You start off with anywhere between 1 to 5 colonists, depending on your chosen starting story, but more wander in or get captured and converted to your cause as time progresses. The Rimworld in question is randomly generated using a seed. The game will generate a large Pangea-like continent with a wide range of biomes from forests to sea ice, with each providing its own set of challenges. Just pick a hexagon in one of the many climates as a landing site, and the next step is generating your colonists. Rimworld uses a random character generator at the beginning of the game when you're choosing your starting colonists. Colonists can be generated with any number of skills, traits, and health conditions that affect their overall usefulness to your colony. Got somebody with a bad spine, or somebody that doesn't want to farm? Just keep rolling the dice. Something better should come eventually. Speaking of bad spines, a cool thing about Rimworld, in my opinion, is the health tab of any pod. It accounts for injuries to each body part, even things like lungs and kidneys. After some raids, it's not uncommon for your colonists to have legs blown off, or an eye shot out, or even brain injuries. These injuries are permanent until you research prosthetics and later bionic implants. Over time, colonists can get things like diabetes and even cancer as they age. You'll also want to keep an eye on your colonists' happiness, which can be affected by many things. Things like seeing dead bodies, selling prisoners into slavery, and eating humans upsets most people and gives them bad thoughts. Things like fancy rooms, fancy meals, and recreation increase a colonist's mood, so you'll eventually want to give your colonists nice, luxurious, and spacious rooms. But before you start building mansions for everyone, know that the game uses a storyteller AI in order to calculate the game events in relation to how well your colony may or may not be doing. Rimworld tracks the wealth of your colony and scales threats accordingly. As you accumulate wealth over the course of the game, pirates start to show up in larger numbers and with better weapons and armor. This means that on harder difficulties, you'll have to avoid hoarding any extra or unnecessary wealth or extravagances in order to prevent an overwhelming force of raiders or megapedes from arriving at your doorstep. One of the game's selling points is that your colonists can form relationships with other colonists. People can become rivals, friends, or even get married. All of these events and interactions have positive or negative effects on a colonist's mood. Personally, I don't worry about it too much since most of the time my colonists can keep harvesting cocaine leaves while dealing with the negative thoughts associated with divorce. A large part of survival in Rimworld are trade caravans, both ones that happen to be passing through your territory and ones that you form yourself to go off into the world. This is a good way to accumulate money and items you need, but there's always a chance that your caravan will be attacked. This chance increases with the amount of valuables you're carting in the caravan, so think twice before loading up your muffalos with thousands of silver bars. There's also a research tree in the game. It's not the absolute best or most thorough tech tree I've seen, but it's definitely enough to make you feel like there's progress being made as more things such as machining or charged miniguns are unlocked. The game has an extensive library of third-party mods on the Steam Workshop to spice up or streamline the gameplay. As you can see, I myself use a few mods. I can see the allure of playing Rimworld as it is in its original vanilla state, but I feel like the mods add hundreds of gameplay hours. Even though the game is focused on getting survivors off of the planet, and despite sinking 22 solid days into the game, I've never actually gotten anyone off of the planet. I tend to just hunker down and make a massive drug factory, pushing drugs across the planet as a fully modded colony of cyborgs. But that's not how the game is supposed to be played. I think. I guess it just depends on who's playing it. There's also some DLC for the game, royalty and ideology that add things like cult-like themes for your colonists to follow, and an empire full of nobles to kiss ass to. But those are like $20 each, and I'm a bit of a cheap ass, so I'll stick to the free mods. I'd still recommend getting them though if you can. I'm sure they're worth every penny. Do I recommend the game? Of course I do, it's a great game. Just be careful, cause it is easy to get addicted. What starts off as a quick session ends up being an hours-long stretch. As the events, raids, and loot starts piling up, you'll find it hard to rip yourself away from the computer screen. This game will quite literally melt time.